Welcome to our session, Cities as Safe Havens, Municipalities Ensuring Safe and Protective Environments. I'm very happy to be with our distinguished speakers here. And first, before I give the floor to our speakers, I would like to just basically make a few comments. As you know, over 90% of Syrian refugees are living outside of refugee camps in Syria's neighboring countries. And in Turkey, this figure is even higher. So with the Syrian refugee issue being obviously an urban issue and the increasing demand for local and urban tasks, it became obvious that there are significant roles to be fulfilled by local governments. And due to their proximity to the people, local authorities are uniquely positioned to recognize the challenges of creating policies inclusive of refugees. And this can be best done in partnership with civil society, citizens, and refugee representatives themselves. So, role of local actors also have become even more important in a context of scarce resources, such as scarce of affordable housing and rising unemployment rates. Cities also face the challenge of addressing reactions of citizens. These reactions are sometimes positive and sometimes negative. When they're negative, such as fear of refugees and racism against refugees, and when it is positive, it is creating a welcome culture and coordinating volunteer work. And local governments also play an important role in addressing these both positive and negative reactions to refugees, and also in recognizing how the cities we live in become richer when they are inclusive of migrants. So role of decentralized cooperation and local governments in including migrants and refugees in policy-making processes becomes very important. And distribution of roles between central and local governments should be reorganized in a more creative and flexible manner. One way of doing this, or an essential way of doing this, is also sharing information and data. We need to stress the necessity of an accessible central database that interconnects all local governments. And as a result, we are all interested in the common welfare of both local communities as well as refugee communities. And this necessitates urban management, migration management, and knowledge exchange among local and central governments. Now, I would like to introduce our speakers today. We will start with Bojan Randjelovic. He is the Assistant Mayor of Pirot City, Serbia. The floor is yours.
Really pleased to see great people of this great city here, and I would like to extend my gratitude to the organizing committee of this event, as well as the Republic of Turkey. The Republic of Turkey has undertaken a very significant role with respect to the refugee problem. It has been hosting a very high number of refugees, and it is undertaking very significant roles. There are cultural sites in Turkey, and these people are hosted by Turkish government. I am coming from a small city from Serbia, which is named Pirot, and it is very close to Bulgaria. In 2016, this city started to host refugees. The refugees were passing through our city. Hundreds of thousands of people passed through our city, and in that case, we started to come up with a solution for this problem. And also we worked together with the Migrostat municipality, and by the end of 2016 in November we started a center and we built a shelter for 250 people, and 2,230 refugees were hosted in this center, and These people were coming from different places, from Syria, from Africa, from Asia, and from South America. So considering 230 people, 140 of them were men, while the rest were women. There are now 120 refugees in our center right now, and majority of them are children and women. And we would like to ensure their safety. Serbia is undergoing very significant problems, and the city of Pirot worked hard in order to protect the rights of such people. And between 2015 and 2016, when this immigration crisis first broke out, it was taking a few days for those people to stay in our city. And after staying there, we had to provide them with food and other needs of theirs. And we worked hard to socially provide them as well. So we attempted to help those people without any discrimination. We worked hard to improve our capacity. When this crisis broke out, we had to work this way in order to ensure a smooth service provision. The local municipalities started to use their capacities to the maximum, and it was our objective to help out those people and to make sure that the normal life continued, and the people living there should not really sense that there are such problems. And I like to mention one more thing. The biggest support for the local governments came from European Union. The European Union supported us in order to improve our capacity and to improve our infrastructure and to hire new people. UNDP, World Health Organization, EU extended their hands to us, and in our country we also were supported by the NGOs, and within the scope of EU projects, UNDP renovated our sports hall in the primary school, and we were provided with various vehicles, and some healthcare services were also improved. In this sense, we were supported by the expert people. So why are those institutions important to us? They are present in order to manage this crisis, because in order to meet the needs of the people, this is highly significant. In the city of Pirot, when you ask the people who are resident, they will tell you that they did not come across any problem with respect to the refugees. In 2019 July, the residents of Pirot were asked about their satisfaction, and the overall level was 2.9 out of 5. And this is an important feedback for us. This is a matter of health in order to maintain their health, because healthcare is highly important for such people. The previous researches indicated that the residents of Pirot were mostly scared that the healthcare services would not be provided sufficiently, and some endemics, some diseases could be infecting the people from such refugees. More diseases could possibly come from those people. But we were able to prevent it, and the people could maintain their lives as they used to do. And the city of Pirot identified those people in order to prevent any infectious diseases. And we see that so those people went through our cities, and thousands of examinations were carried out for such people. Our largest hospital, the public hospital within the city, offered examination services for such people, and hundreds of refugees stayed in our hospitals, and they benefited from our healthcare services. And we also provided those people with social aids, and it was done in scope of Serbian laws. Especially we had our programs in order to protect the children. Some of them did not have their parents with them, so we helped out those people as well.
For especially emphasizing the importance of local governments in first response, and also the importance of cooperations with different levels of institutions. Now our next speaker is Mr. Shoichiro Suzuki. He's the Deputy Mayor of the city of Kyoto, Japan. The floor is yours.
Merhaba. Thank you, organizers, for inviting me to this precious opportunity. I'm Shoichiro Suzuki, Deputy Mayor of Kyoto City, Japan. This is my first trip to Turkey and Gaziantep, and I'm very impressed that it's a very beautiful city. Especially understand Gaziantep, which is on the Silk Road, is quite rich in history and culture. Kyoto is a common feature in rich culture and history, which let me sympathize with Turkey and Gaziantep. Fortunately, it happened that the exhibition Treasures and the Tradition of Lale, which means tulip, in the Ottoman Empire was held in Kyoto this year. All of us were moved by Turkey's traditional and beautiful craft arts, including a marvelous jade crown and gorgeous rings. On such an occasion, this is a very good chance for us to deepen the relation between Kyoto and Turkey. Also, I'm aware that Turkey has protected over 3.6 million Syrian people. Gaziantep has protected 500,000 Syrian people as well. I respect Turkey's precious support to Syria, not only for its humanitarian aid, but also for building programs for Syrians' independent lives. When it comes to the support for refugees, Ms. Sadako Ogata, the first Japanese High Commissioner for Refugees, passed away this year. As a Japanese, I'm proud of her and pay respect to her activity again and pray for her soul. Today, I'd like to give you a few topics regarding multicultural coexistence. First one is how Kyoto has historically accepted people and cultures from outside. The second one, how Kyoto faces and tries to fix the conflict between resident and overseas tourists. Now, the first topic. Kyoto has a long history, but it doesn't place its values only on history, but also on the mixture of tradition and innovation. To promote innovation, we have proactively accepted people and cultures from outside the city. The original city of Kyoto, built in the 8th century, was designed to resemble Chang'an City, then capital of China, in structure. I think I can show the picture. Is it possible? No? I hope I can show. Anyway, the Gion Festival is the traditional festival that has continued without almost any interruptions for over 1,000 years. There are some floats, which are called hoko in Japanese, used for the festival, and that are hanging tapestries. And this came all the way, actually, from the Middle East. For just your reference, it's said that the Gion Festival has a background that the then Emperor of Japan was worried about plagues and natural disasters and planted the same number of pikes as provinces to pray for peace and stability, which are the origin of floats. As such, the original philosophy of the festival is that nobody be left behind, which share the same spirit as the SDGs, I believe. In industries, traditional craft businesses have been modernized to become businesses with advanced technology, mainly which were from overseas and have broken into a global market. I give you some example. Some of Kyoto's main industries have changed or added their main products. For example, Murata Manufacturing Incorporated originally made ceramic pottery, but now it makes ceramic capacitors. And Nintendo Corporated, which is a renowned digital game company, used to produce traditional paper game cards. Those changes are made thanks to tireless endeavors by companies themselves. But it's also said that Kyoto's cultural background, including the ones from overseas, worked a lot. For example, tea ceremony, the Japanese flower arrangement, and incense have played a significant role in blending the concept of traditional industry and advanced technology. Likewise, Kyoto has experienced the development of the city and its industries by flexibly accepting people and cultures from outside. This is a kind of philosophy cherished in history. Now let me proceed to the second topic. I'm talking about inbound tourism and the conflict from that. We have focused on inbound tourism, and our initiatives have achieved satisfactory results, and we have received a good reputation. The number of foreign tourists who stayed overnight in Kyoto increased. In 2013, overnight tourists were 1.1 million, but it has increased to 4.5 million in 2018, which means increasing by 400%. Kyoto has ranked in the best 10 cities in 2 consecutive years in a renowned travel magazine. And in some business areas, there are conflicts between overseas tourists and residents. Congestion and rude behaviors, such as taking wedding photos with a fixed camera and putting maiko or kimono sleeves on the traditional business street. Also, tourists litter garbage on the street, which is never consistent with Kyoto's philosophy to keep the town clean. To resolve those conflicts, we have started initiatives to raise awareness of tourism. We have placed guards, signboards, and using etiquette awareness application for mobile phones with push notification on the street. Like that, Kyoto has been a welcoming city with hospitality. In order for citizens to keep up such spirit, all involved have been making great efforts. We'd like to continue to accept new people and cultures from abroad, which leads to creating vitality in the city. if our attitude and initiative towards multiple culture would give you some clues to develop initiatives or multicultural coexistence, it would be very appreciated. Thank you very much. And Shoichiro, Edwin, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Suzuki. Your remarks, especially regarding the inclusiveness of the city of Kyoto, especially across time and geography, was really remarkable, and also the innovative ways the city has come up with to be more inclusive. Now, our third speaker is Sinan Özden. He's the National Project Coordinator of the RESLOG project of the Swedish Association of Local Authorities and Regions. The floor is yours.
Merhaba, çok teşekkürler. Merhaba.
Hello, everyone, and thank you very much. The RESLOG-Turkey project implemented in Turkey, I'm the coordinator. Swedish Union of Municipalities, Turkish Union of Municipalities, and Marmara and Çukurova Regional Union of Municipalities are co-implementing this project. And I'll be telling you about the details of this project. The reason why I specifically tell the implementing partners of the project is a good example of the cooperation of Union of Municipalities started this project. It's a best practice. And it's supported by Swedish government. Today's session is safe havens and safe environments and the role of local governments for safe environment. If we are to assume such a role for migration as local authorities and local governments, the municipalities should have the tools to support their service provision. And in defining this tool, we should understand the concept of migration. And here comes the question, how we prefer to understand migration in three steps: arrival, settlement and coexistence, and integration. So in daily speech, we talk about integration, but in the example of Turkish population in Germany, integration could only be in the second or the third generation, but settlement and cohabitation is currently what we face now. Our population, the host community, together is increasing together with the refugee and migrant population and the total population of the residents that needs to be provided with services. Now we are at the stage of settlement and cohabitation. So far, our municipalities very dedicatedly had important roles in arrival and in reception stages of migration, and we listened about their activities in the opening remarks. But now it's the settlement and cohabitation, and what should we do for new ways for settlement of the migrant community and cohabitation with host community. Here, the service providers, namely the local governments and the municipalities, should look at themselves and should look at their own performance and empower their resilience against migration. Then what should we do? There should be a resilience assessment in the first place. How much could we welcome and we could receive the migration, and what are the deficiencies in the first stage? Then we have to develop a methodology for this resilience assessment. And together with this resilience assessment, our municipalities had to draft their master plans for migration. And here, for planned, inclusive, and sustainable approach had to be adopted for this framework. Throughout the first year of this project, we have focused on this master plan and drafting of a sustainable and inclusive plan. And drafting the migration master plans was not sufficient, but also they should be integrated, embedded in strategic plans, because the main implementing tool of the municipalities and resources are strategic plans rather than master plans. Then there could be a series of plan decisions to be included in strategic plans. And in this project, in Marmara and Çukurova region, we have cooperated with 12 municipalities, and in this cooperation process, as a project approach, the plans, the activities to be implemented as a team of project and as experts, we prefer to have the municipalities plan their own activities and make their own plans. And we had successful achievements, results, and they were included in strategic plans of the municipalities. So far, the migration issue was considered as a charity activity at humanitarian level, at Ansar understanding, but thanks to these efforts of the project, now we have a more settled and established understanding of migration included in the services spectrum of the municipalities. We have achieved to have it as included as a normal role and service spectrum of municipalities. I may name the municipalities Sultanbeyli, Zeytinburnu, Şişli, Bursa Metropolitan Municipality, Osman Gazi, and Orhan Gazi district municipalities of Bursa were in our project in Marmara region and in Çukurova region, Adana Büyükşehir, Sarıçam, Seyhan, Hatay Metropolitan Municipality, and Reyhanlı district municipality at the border, you know, Reyhanlı at the border, and Mezitli municipality of Mersin were in our project, and they drafted their master plans, and they included these master plans in their strategic plan. Some of these municipalities are present in this conference room, and throughout these 2 days, I kindly invite you to contact directly with the representatives of these municipalities and share their experiences with them. During the coffee breaks or informal gatherings, you can have conversation about their experience, and you'll listen directly from them. I believe that they will give more correct, more accurate, and insider information about this project and its implementation. And with this methodology of project, we have achieved to develop a capacity, we believe. Now is the time for implementation of these plans and this cohabitation process. We will continue to experience this cohabitation process throughout the next year of the project. The municipalities that I named as a footnote, please take this as a significant footnote, these municipalities host 25% of the Syrian migrant population in Turkey. That is to say, this international migration flux of Turkey, 1/4 of this population is a service is committed to this population. Why are we conducting it with the municipalities? Because municipalities are at the core of service provision. We are all project-based, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. If it's a second phase of the project, we'll be here for a couple of more years if it's project-based. But the main service providers are municipalities, very much like a doctor has to be healthy to provide health services to the patients, and our municipalities has to be healthy in the first place. So, in the context of migration, empowering the resilience of the municipalities and working directly one-to-one with the municipalities, is it sufficient? No. In municipality, we have to support the organization of municipalities. The union of municipalities must be empowered. And local experiences should be shared with other stakeholders, and the cooperation at local level should also be strengthened. And at that point, the Turkish Union of Municipalities, Marmara Union of Municipalities, and Çukurova Union of Municipalities, our partners in the project, provided us with great experiences, because this regional union of municipalities, and very much like Turkish Union of Municipalities, the local union of municipalities are significant organizations, and they should not be looked upon. And we should strengthen the local cooperation at regional level as well through these organizations of municipalities. Here, the most critical point is enriching the information platforms. And this basis of information, we are conducting a series of meetings, and we are publishing some documents and books. We haven't started the distribution of the published books yet. I'll show one. It's Local Governance and Migration series of books. And we are planning to expand it, distribute it to all municipalities of Turkey. Therefore, it will not be just limited to pilot municipalities. This migration issue will be discussed at a broader spectrum. Why is it important? Because beyond international migration, in internal migration, Turkey is a huge country of internal migration too. Due to time limitation, I shorten my sentences as a just brief explanation. What we call internal migration is we have satellite cities, And this influx of migration from Syria also, this migration issue, our municipalities had the opportunity to work specifically on migration, and for creation of this knowledge and this information, we have a huge resource. It's an opportunity to study migration-related concepts for municipalities. And these regional and local activities have a correspondence at national level and at the national level in making contribution to the general policy making at central level. Turkey, in shaping its migration policies, Turkey should have platforms where the voices of regional and local authorities could be heard. And the influx of all these Syrian migrants from the very beginning, all this experience we have accumulated from the beginning of the crisis, the contribution of the local authorities to the national policies about migration and to reflect the opinions and the thoughts of the local authorities, we have established a platform of mayors for migration, and it's hosted by Turkish Union of Municipalities. And in this platform of mayors, in the next period, we are planning to a document for the migration policy document for local authorities for migration, and it will be published in next summer, and it will be sent to Turkish Grand National Assembly, the Presidency of the Republic of Turkey, Turkish Union of Municipalities, and other line ministries, so that we will have conducted a comprehensive, inclusive study at local, regional, and national level, so that we will empower the inclusive resilience of local authorities. We hope that we will achieve this goal. So I could make only this in 6 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Sinan. Especially cohabitation and solidarity, your emphasis, and long-term planning. Your emphasis on long-term planning and cohabitation and solidarity are very relevant and crucial.
Our next speaker is Doyle. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the Knox City Council, Australia. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Şenay. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here to listen at this late part of the day. I hope you can cope with my Australian accent okay. They can't translate that. You'll just have to bear with me. I did have some slides, but they don't appear to be up there. But I can carry on without them if need be. I'll start anyhow. If the slides appear, they appear. So I want to share with you today what I believe is an extraordinarily positive settlement story of a refugee group. And the story is set in a small town in rural Victoria in Australia. This is a small town story, but importantly for all of us here, the principles and implications of this story can guide settlement on any scale around the world. Nil is a rural town in the northwest of Victoria. It's a grain-based agricultural area. Population is declining in most rural towns in Australia as mechanisation and automation reduce labour requirements on farms. The exception to this is Nil, which is a thriving town economically and culturally, thanks to the successful settlement of Karen refugees into that town. For those who aren't familiar with the Karen people, they're a displaced ethnic group from Myanmar, and there's about, I think, 140,000 of them in refugee camps on the Thai-Burma border. In many ways, Nil has saved these refugees, but importantly, these refugees have also saved Nil. Initially settling in Melbourne, the first refugees, Karen refugees, moved to Nil in 2010. That movement of people, Karen people to Nil, has continued, and the Karen people now make up 10% of Nil's population. In that time, we've seen the Karen people thrive, Nil's economy grow. We've also seen a cultural exchange that has brought a richness and fulfilment to everyone in Nil, Karen and Australian people. So why has this settlement been so successful? I believe there are 7 key ingredients to the success that I'd like to share with you. These are employment, provision of accommodation, community champions, leadership within the community, a whole of a community approach, holistic support for the whole of the family, the refugee family, and a cultural sharing. I did have a slide showing that to make it easier, but anyhow. I won't have time to talk about all of these today, so I'm just going to talk about, the slides are there. Thank you. So that was the slide I was just referring to. So they're what I believe are the key ingredients to success of this settlement in Nil and the creation of a safe haven. So the Karen story started with the local business, a business that is a fully integrated producer of duck product for consumption, thinking laterally about how it could fill job vacancies that it had and grow its business. This business was experiencing a labour shortage which was seriously restricting their growth. They met with a community of Karen people living in Melbourne, having arrived there as refugees, but a group of people that were not enjoying life in Melbourne due to a lack of opportunity for them, a lack of feeling part of the community. So from this introduction, the Nil community provided a bus and invited 14 Karen people to visit Nil in 2010 to learn about the town and the opportunity of relocating there. Immediately following this visit, 5 Karen families moved to Nil. The growth in the number of Karen people moved to Nil in subsequent years has supported love of ducks and other business expansion and diversification. This has seen this duck producer grow to being the biggest producer of duck product in Australia, and they have also developed significant export markets around the world thanks to the Karen people who've moved and started work into their business. Their growth has also helped support other businesses in the community, and the Karen people now work in a diverse range of businesses, with a new generation of Karen people working at schools and hospitals as teachers and nurses. And importantly for the community, these are jobs that have traditionally been difficult to attract people to in remote areas such as Nil. The value to the business community of the Karen settlement was clear, and the municipality built partnerships with businesses to invest in Karen training and education, including senior staff from all businesses within the town undertaking Karen language courses. These partnerships were very, very important. The other part that I'll talk about is community. So a cornerstone to the success of this settlement has been a whole-of-community approach. Nil's response to that very first visit of 14 Karen people that I just mentioned was symptomatic of this. Meeting and spending time with the Karen people on that day, that very first day, were representatives from the municipality, from police, from emergency services, from the health system, from key businesses and key community groups within the town. Key influential people in the community have become champions, speaking positively and sharing information about the Karen relocation to Nil. Nil families have mentored and supported Karen families, from simple things such as shopping in our supermarkets through to assistance with banking and arranging housing. Local shops, service providers and government agencies have added Karen language to all their literature and information about accessing services. The police and the fire department have undertaken training around fire safety, road laws, hunting laws and fishing laws, all favourite pastimes of the Karen, in Karen language for the community. Local sporting clubs have opened up and made it easy for Karen people to join them. And lastly, on the community front, a local school took on as a school project or a student project for students to create Karen English language books, and the students wrote and illustrated these books and published these books, so that for the first time the community had English Karen books that could be used in schools. The Nil Learning Centre was also a really important organisation. This is an adult education organisation. In many ways became a community centre for the Karen people, its role extending beyond that of educator, but also mentor, trusted friend, and providing a safe place for the Karens to gather. Leadership. The Koreans' refugee background meant that they had many challenges, both physically and mentally. And there was, as their numbers grew, there was a significant need for services to be provided in the community, services that didn't exist and needed funding. Council worked hard in partnership with business and community to deliver this. Over a number of years, we undertook a range of initiatives with the aim of building the profile of the success of the settlement and build political momentum. This included a photographic exhibition of the Korean people with stories attached to those exhibitions that told their story. A calling program that the Mayor and I undertook to ministers, the Korean community plan which we developed, which had actions and commitments from everyone in the community as to what they were going to do to support this program. And we engaged Deloitte Access Economics to undertake an economic analysis of the actual value of this settlement to the community. And having that dollar value to be able to talk to our central government about was incredibly important and incredibly valued because it really contextualised what it meant. The Korean story kept growing, and I just want to refer you to this example here. So the Nil Neighbourhood House has started a community enterprise scheme. It's basically a business owned by 25 Korean women in the town. I mentioned earlier that there's a desire for a whole of family approach to the Koreans. Well, this business is all about the women. It started with the municipality providing weaving looms, and they now have a shop in the main street. They export to shops in Melbourne and Sydney, and they also are online. Their website's up there. If you're looking for some Christmas gift ideas, please jump online and shout yourself something, because this business has been incredibly important to close the loop. Korean men came to Nil and got jobs working on farms, got jobs working for the duck producer, got jobs with mechanics, etc. The women didn't get that straight away. This has instilled a tremendous sense of pride and ownership amongst the Korean women in our town. It's been a very, very important step. Just quickly, because I know I'm out of time, sorry. The cultural sharing has been very important. The Korean people, part of the success here is they've been very generous with sharing their culture. So look, I'll leave it at that because I'm over time, but I just wanted to show you one last of my favourite photos from the Korean community. That's our mayor holding up a Korean boy after a community celebration where a large number of Korean people were made Australian citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle. You have indeed given us a concrete example of how migrants enrich in our towns and cities once we have the ingredients for success. Our next speaker is Hülya Alper. She's the director of WALD. Buyurun Hülya Hanım.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Değerli konuk.
Thank you. Esteemed guests, I would like to welcome you all. I'm quite pleased to be here with you. Speaking of migration, we are all actually migrants, and our histories. It started with our history, it exists today, and it will exist tomorrow as well. So in this sense, the local governments have to undertake a very significant role. We have listened to the other speakers. We have been speaking about social cohesion and the migration policies. Social cohesion is very important, and the local governments are again responsible for ensuring it. And the migration has some disadvantages, but the biggest advantage is actually enriching the coexistence culture and co-living culture. And I will be telling you about the social cohesion and the social protection aspect from a project that is executed in Istanbul. As WALD, we have been conducting this exemplary project with UNHCR Istanbul office for improving the social protection. For cohesion, you have to first solve the language problem. All the municipalities open up language courses. Is it enough? It is actually not enough. Those people have to be supported in terms of social protection. It is, of course, important to share some rights with them, but it's also important to teach them about their rights and liabilities in order to create safe havens and enrich the coexistence. The sharing of rights and liabilities is very important. And while doing that, the migration units and the social protection centers are highly important. The social workers, the psychologists, and the lawyers work together, and in terms of access to the humanitarian services, they have the information centers, and the people visiting such centers are easily integrating with the society and complete their cohesion, because that's where they see the values. They understand that their children need to go to the school and they should not allow their children to marry at a young age. And the consultancy services are very significant in this sense. Basically, all the social and cultural productions relate to the local governments indeed, and the new formations, access to shelter and social cohesion issues is again to be done by producing policies with the local governments and the central governments. As for the social cohesion, I believe it is integrated with social protection as well, and we see it in our centers in Istanbul as well. The people, the works that we do with the people, with the children and adults, are very important to us, because we found that the young people may have difficulty in accessing to such services. They don't really know how to prepare and what to prepare, and we attach great importance to the young and children, and improving their social cohesion also allows us to improve the social peace and an atmosphere of confidence and trust. Decreasing the barriers is our main objective, and it is under the responsibility of the central government. We also know that the central governments have their employment policies, and those policies are supported, and we found in line with this project that this is to be supported as well. The people come with their rich and historical cultures as well, and they would like to also do their own professions in this country. And what kind of a workplace is to be opened by them, and how are they to meet those conditions is a big problem to them. So we see that they are also supporting the economic development of the place they live in, and accordingly the workplaces opened by the refugees are licensed, and we are supporting them for the license procedures as well. And we see that many young people have been able to attend universities thanks to us. A young Syrian attended the programs that we opened, and he was able to attend the faculty of dentistry. And in one of his speeches he said that when I first came to Turkey I was able to obtain great values, and my purpose is to learn very well in the Turkish education system. I would like to go back to my country and work with the politics, and I would like to contribute to the peace of the world. So in this sense, I believe that we have to be working with the young and the children. The women also should also be empowered, because if the women are able to integrate into the society, that family easily integrates to the society. Therefore, the women works are highly important to us, and especially for improvement of the women entrepreneurship. We are also carrying out some pilot projects in the various districts of Istanbul. In the local governments and the municipalities, the refugee representatives should also be taking their place, because those people are also part of this society. Those people also need to represent themselves and have a right to speak in those assemblies. And it will be highly important for pluralism. So in those 12 city districts, we're also taking steps in order to involve those people in the provincial assemblies as well. And I would like to thank the mayors who support our efforts. And of course, we have to thank the administrators of the foundation and as well as the organizations funding us. Thank you very much, Hülya Hanım. In respect of social cohesion, you underlined the importance of accessing to the rights, and you also spoke about participation of the refugees in policy producing procedures. So it is highly important to us as well.
She represents tomorrow's Women Committee. تفضلي.
سأتكلم باللغة العربية.
I will be delivering my speech in Arabic. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to you for inviting me to this forum. In this forum, we will be talking about the local solutions against migration and displacement, and I would like to extend my gratitude for your hospitality. This is an NGO based in Gaziantep, and we'll be using the Sara Center. In 2015, we started as 9 Syrian women. We had our tea parties on a weekly basis, and we were discussing about our problems. And in a few months, we turned into an NGO. Today, more than 50 women work together, and I am representing them. In scope of solidarity against the violence against women, we supported the campaign of the young girls. I don't know if you are aware, the Metropolitan Municipality of Gaziantep is undertaking a mother's role for the Syrian refugees. Since the war first broke out in Syria, the Gaziantep Metropolitan Municipality has been extending its help to such people, and today Gaziantep Metropolitan Municipality is working with many international and national NGOs to empower the women, as well as the UN Women Council. And we have undersigned many projects with EU and UN agencies in order to support the Syrian women. And the SADA Women Only Center is one of those organizations that we collaborate with. Regardless of their ethnicities or their religions, we are covering all those women. And today, SADA has been helping us in every sense possible for our integration to the society. And the women in the SADA Center made a significant decision this year, and they decided to set up SADA Women Solidarity Center, and some ladies were supported economically, and many voluntary activities were carried out. Paris Peace Conference took place a few weeks ago, and in this conference our project was indicated to be in top 10 best projects, where more than 1,600 projects were presented. So we were ranked in the top 10. Many memories were left behind in Syria. We have been through a lot. We suffered a lot. But today we are able to feel safe in SADA. And as the women, we are encountering pretty much the same problems in respect of communication and education and language. Also, we took place in activities to improve our skills, and we were able to obtain an awareness socially as well. Many subjects which were taken normal by us were found to be major problems. For example, child marriage. Today we are aware of these problems. We now know that the women should not be allowed to marry before the age of 18. And despite all the opposition from our communities, we are not giving up, and we are dealing with many significant problems in the society. And in respect of in domestic violence and schooling, we are taking many great steps, and we are also doing our best to inform the people. We are supporting the women who are not able to leave their houses, and we are carrying out projects to provide them with the information. And we would like to thank the municipality of Gaziantep for all their efforts. We have been able to utilize the services of Gaziantep, a metropolitan municipality, and I wish that we can access to more and more women, and for this we require more support from your sides as well. Also, with respect to the children being unable to be schooled, we believe that many activities are required. We are also organizing our activities for the women up to the age of 59 to develop occupational skills, and the Gaziantep Metropolitan Municipality is also supporting us in this sense. The refugees, the disabled people are supported by the Metropolitan Municipality, and SADA Center was set up by them, and Turkish language trainings were organized. Also, occupational training activities are organized, and those people are being supported through SADA Center, and many great activities are carried out through SADA Center to further inform these people. And I would like to call all the municipalities to take up the same route as the Gaziantep municipality and support the women to be independent. And I wish that the centers like SADA are increased day by day. Çok teşekkürler.
Organizing in the host communities and also cooperation of local governments with migrant self-organizations and how this is essential, is an essential aspect of building inclusive societies. And last but not least, now we have Kenan Gültürk. He is the Mayor Councillor of Bağcılar, İstanbul. Buyurun Kenan Bey.
Sayın misafirler,
Distinguished guests, respected participants, I greet you all with my deepest respect. You are all welcome. Of course, we are a little bit tired at the end of the day, and please accept my apologies, and I'll share my presentation with you. Protection and social service provision and social harmonization of the refugees. As Bağcılar District Municipality of Istanbul, our motto is no one left behind, and our activities, I'll briefly share our activities for these sectors. Istanbul, maybe as intensity and its surface area, is not comparable to Gaziantep, but the surface area of Istanbul is smaller, so that the migrant population is more intense and more focused in a limited geographical location. And our district, Bağcılar, have a huge population of refugee brothers and sisters. And as the previous speakers stated, first, when they come to us, the refugees, first, we have a reception activities to welcome them. Later, after this reception, settling these refugees, and thirdly, we came to the stage of cohabitation with the migrants and refugees. And now we are transiting and shifting to social cohesion or integration, a fourth stage of migration, social cohesion and integration. As Bağcılar Municipality, I'll tell the brief titles of our activities, just main overview. Bağcılar, if there are colleagues who are not familiar with Istanbul, it's on the European side of Istanbul, and it's on the outskirts of Istanbul. Istanbul expanded with internal migration, and Bağcılar district was created with internal migration in 1924, international migration from Thessalonica, from Kazakhstan of Central Asia, and later on through industrialization. There has been huge internal migration from rural areas, and Bağcılar has the third largest population in Istanbul, and it's around 750,000 population. And out of the 750,000 population, around 13% are refugees. And this corresponds approximately to 53 migrants living in our Bağcılar. These are official figures. And the most significant activity we have conducted as Bağcılar Municipality, due to time limitation, I'll start from the most significant activity. As I said a while ago, the settlement and reception and settlement of the refugees. And after this reception and settlement, the most important, as there is a huge youth segment of this population, we have focused on the education of young population. And this is our third year for this project, increasing the schooling of children. We have followed up the schooling of children, and we have encouraged families to send their children to school, to increase schooling of children. In the previous year, it was 6,000, and last year it was 8,000. And this year's figure is more than 10,000 students were enrolled in schools. This is a success for us. But except for this, an additional 5,000 students are required to be attending to schools. But the age group with highest resistance to attending to school is secondary, lower secondary, but higher secondary, upper secondary is more important, and we are focusing on upper secondary education, namely high school education. First, where we started, the baseline of our study. First, we had consultation meetings with NGOs. Later on, after these consultation meetings with the NGOs, We have established a harmonization council and committee in our municipality. Later on, this harmonization commission of the municipality established a secretariat, a unit for the clerical and administrative works of harmonization committee. And our strategy was based on these principles: the schooling and education first, later on child activities, social activities, cultural activities, employment activities, legal rights and legal assistances, humanitarian assistance, and finally, last but not least, harmonization activities were our key elements of activities. We have grouped them under 10 titles. One, as said, is language, and the second is cohabitation culture, and the second is education, and the third is inclusion, and another one is sense of belonging, respect, reciprocal concept, mutual concept. Another chapter is urbanization, because we share the same space. Another is fighting against discrimination, mitigating possible risks and taking measures against possible risks, cohabitation culture, and finally governance. We have established this Bağcılar model for governance. Hülya Hanım, the previous speaker, is a witness of this activity. Our municipality has 6 voluntary councils, 1 for children, 1 for youth, 1 for women, 1 for disabled, and 1 is for environment. These are voluntary councils, and they have active activities. And we have 5 refugee and migrant representatives in each of these voluntary councils. Their opinions, their feelings, and their opinions about the city where they live are heard, and it's reflected in these voluntary councils. And based on the needs or demands by these voluntary councils, it guides us. It's a very successful model. And from now on, our activities will heavily focus on the cooperation with Ministry of National Education, the Provincial Directors of Religious Affairs, and the NGOs in Bağcılar. We will focus on social harmonization, both for host community, the residents of Bağcılar, and our refugee brothers and sisters. And it will be based on mutuality, including the traditions and our values and traditional practices will be shared. And United Nations, European Union, our thanks goes to UN and EU. We have cooperation with them in these projects with UN agencies and EU organizations. Thank you very much for their cooperation. And we have some, with your permit, some suggestions, some proposals. In these type of activities, both the stakeholders, and we have a suggestion for stakeholders and the project partners, Syrian actors, the actors, Syrian origin actors, including the Syrian NGOs, or the community leaders that we define as community leaders should more be included in these activities. The Syrian NGOs and community leaders should be involved in the activities more, so that these activities will increase access to population, refugee population, and these community leaders and representatives of the refugee community can act as intermediaries for observing and for listening to the migrant community. If we include them, if we involve them in these activities, in harmonization activities, and if we take their opinions, at least we might realize sometimes we neglect, we just skip, and we cannot realize some misconducts or deficiencies, so that we will have an opportunity to compensate our deficiencies thanks to their observations. Once again, thank you very much for giving this opportunity for the presentation, and my thanks and gratitude goes each and every one of those who put effort to make this organization possible. Thanks. Thank you, Mr. Kenan. Both for needs assessment and creating solutions, the NGO and the refugees themselves must be included, and your inclusive approach is really relevant and crucial.
Time, unfortunately, for the question and answer session. Is there anyone who would like to ask any questions? Okay. I would like to emphasize the importance of, once more, the importance of including refugees themselves in policy-making processes and also in decision-making processes. And many of our speakers also pointed at the importance of this. And hopefully, all over the world, more local governments as well as central governments will take steps towards including refugees themselves in these processes. And again, many of our speakers emphasized the importance of partnerships with civil society as well. So therefore, what I get from this panel is the importance of cooperation between local governments, civil society, and refugee self-organizations. Thank you. I would like to thank all our speakers for their very valuable contributions, and thank you for listening.